here and you guys are here, and thank you very much. And thank you for being here. I know that venue's moved. I ended up going to a wrong address, and I was already late, and then that happened, and now we're here, and everything's good. So thank you guys very much for being here. Thank you for having me in your city. I really do like Melbourne. The only thing I don't get is why it's pronounced Melbourne and there's an R. Very confusing. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm just rolling with everything that comes my way. So again, thank you guys very much for having me. It's been a lot of planes to get here. If you hear that I'm congested or stuffy, it's because I am. I think it's because of the pressure going up and down every single day. But I will do my best to get through it. I may have to sneeze, I may cough. I'm good, I'm not gonna die, everything's okay. So I'm just gonna dive right in. I know this was supposed to end at 8, but I did come late, so we're just gonna extend it, have a good time. I hope that's okay. And if I go too long, just let me know and shut me up and I'll jump on stage. So, where do we want to start? I know where I want to start, but before I start where I want to start, I want to ask you guys what you want to hear, what you want covered today, what you want me to sort of mix in and weave into what I already have planned to present on. We'll go with 5 people. Anybody raise your hand, shout out something? Yes?
If you're in that room that has 48 screens, is that more beneficial than a 24 or a 16?
We'll talk about that. Anybody else? Any topics, any questions, anything you want to bring up? Yes?
Ray?
Ray. Okay, yeah, we could definitely do that. I'll leave some time at the end for that one so we could go to a lot of different cool aspects. Yes?
The tunnels and TLS, about Ray.
Okay.
And the shock that it came to me that Melbourne, along with South Africa and Portugal, is a
Oh,
hub.
that's true. I forgot about that. Australia, over here specifically is a big, maybe that's why I feel sick. For real. I'm not kidding. I landed here and I feel like pressure behind. I don't know. But we'll definitely talk about that. I didn't remember until you just brought it up. Anybody else? 2 more. Yes?
Pregnancy in the EESystem.
Beautiful. My sister spent her whole pregnancy in one. And my now niece, she's 9 months old, has a cube in her bedroom. With her, right next to her little cube. It's her crib. So the answer is that, but we can go deeper into that and understanding why it's so beneficial. Yes?
Has Ray been to an EES system?
Ray has an EE system. Let's keep going. But yes, he has been.
What do you know about the fires in Australia?
You're talking about a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Remind me if I forget, there's a story that I want to tell you guys that has to do with those fires and what happened before those fires on a personal level. Okay, so basically I'm seeing a mix 50-50 EES, the technology, and then TLS, Ray, all those things. Yes?
The earthquakes have been happening in Melbourne. They're real.
Was there one that happened recently?
Yesterday we had
What magnitude?
10 meters down.
10 kilometers.
Anything to do, 10 kilometers, sorry.
Yep.
To do with tunnels.
We'll talk about that. The short answer is most recent ones I don't know, but I'll tell you what I do know based on the whole 10 kilometer thing and what happened after that was spoken about. Congratulations. Okay, last one. Yes?
I just feel like someone said a couple of times before, but why Melbourne, in your belief, is quite the guinea pig in the last few years?
I don't know. It's a good, I don't know. It's not just over here, Australia as a whole. You guys got hit hard when it came to COVID. So did Canada, so did Israel. There's a lot of like guinea pig areas. If you ask my opinion, because you guys are very nice. Really. I don't know about Israel, but Canadians and Australians, they're good, nice people that they just want good. It's not, I'm sure that there's, criminals like there are in every place, but outside of Australia, that's the perception that we have. It's just like Canada. It's a nice place, it's just a good place. And same thing with Australia. It's a good place and everybody minds their own business. Maybe that could be the reason of seeing how far they can push a collective. You guys also aren't allowed to have guns. It's a big piece of it. A big piece of it. Okay, this is fun, so let's keep going for a second. Yes. Neurological issues having to do with the EESystem and overcoming that you're talking about?
Yeah, and how long you would need to
Sounds good? Okay, now really one more. Yeah. Yes?
Diet and how critical it is.
Very. Very. If I forget about that one way or another, somebody remind me we have to get to food. Okay, we have to understand food from a different perspective. That kind of stuff, yeah.
Water?
Yeah, of course. Basically the sustenance of life. Water and light is the sustenance of life. So eating things with a lot of water in them, water to matter ratio content is very, very important. But I'll give you guys a whole lesson on understanding a food pyramid in a different way. Understanding the pyramid of food not according to, what's the equivalent of the FDA in Australia? Are they just as correct? Yes. Awesome. So whatever that is, I'm going to give you guys a different perspective on understanding food. And one thing I just want to preface with, and then we'll just dive in. Again, anybody that has questions, I'll get to you. I promise you, I'll get to you, and I'll leave questions, and we'll make it super interactive. But one thing I really want to preface with is, I'm going to share a lot today, and you may not understand everything being shared, and that's okay. It's almost like when you have a dream, you don't always remember, but your subconscious does. And at the right time, you will remember that part will become activated. So if you don't remember, if it's too much for you, just let it be, don't try to figure it out. It's all good. There will be a lot of information that I share. And my intention is not to tell you what to think, it's to teach you how to think. It's to give you guys tools in certain ways, because my goal is to get everybody to that point of being able, a lot of people use the word discernment, being able to discern, being able to figure things out on their own without trusting an individual outside of them. And there's places, and right place and right times for that, because you may not always know something, but the proportion is it's completely way out of proportion right now in terms of people not using the fundamental laws and understanding those fundamental laws of, a lot of people ask, how do you know if, people say about me all the time, how do we know if Jason's good or bad? How do we know if a leader is a good leader or a bad leader? How do we know if it's a false leader or a true leader? And the answer is very simple. Pay attention to their call to action. Does their call to action tell you, give me something? Does their call to action say, here's your power? There may be an exchange involved in that, but where does it bring you to? Does it bring you back to yourself? Or does it bring you to somebody else? For example, we've heard this a lot. You have to do it for your neighbor, do your part. That's a disguise, right? So they're saying, go and get injected with something that God knows what the hell is in that thing. Go and take this thing because it's good for others, because you have to do your part to save people. So people that can't discern will be like, oh no, we're doing it to help people. But people that can't discern with that fundamental law of the perception, how do we perceive things differently? How do we understand who's good and who's not, who's doing it for the right intentions and not? Well, that disguise of, do it for your neighbor, do your part, it's really telling you, give away your freedom and put poison in your body. And if you don't, you can't get on a train or a plane. You don't have to, but you can't live in society if you don't do it. That's an example of false leadership. They painted a beautiful picture to a lot of people, but they were lying. And it was obvious because we followed that level of logic instead of, who do I trust? That's my goal today. I don't want you guys to trust me. It's great if you do, but don't make that your base. Because let's say you trust me and I have good intentions and I'm wrong. Well, then I just unintentionally misled you. So, hear what I say today, but do your own research. Filter it through your own lens. Challenge me. That's how we grow. There are times where people have said, well, what about this? And I said, I never thought about that because I'm a human just like you guys. And we're growing all the time. That's the point of being a human. So just keep that in mind with everything being shared today. All right. So, usually I would draw a few things. I'm going to do, okay. All righty. I'm going to wait for that. That's a very important part right now. I could do it without it, but you're really going to get jumbled up if you just hear me speak without a visual of what's being said here. So while that gets up, I'll explain what I'm going to be doing now. Before we understand the energy enhancement system, before we understand this technology as a whole, you first have to understand the difference between health and disease. So, and you could shout this one out. In one word, if you had to define health without using the word health, what would you say? Say it out loud. Wellness, vitality, anybody else? Life. Keep going. Energy, frequency, calmness. Equilibrium. Okay, let's stop there. Equilibrium. So if health, all of you are right, but we're going to stick to equilibrium for this one. If health is equilibrium, or in other words, balance, then what's disease? Imbalance. Disharmony. Make sense? Okay. What we're really focusing on here, without all the big words and terminologies and complexities, because none of that is needed here. A healthy body is a balanced body, energetically speaking. And a sick body is an imbalanced body, energetically speaking, and everything comes out of that. So, Nikola Tesla may or may have not said this, because we don't actually know, but this is what we think he said. If you think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, you will understand the secrets of the universe. Now, whether he said it or not, it's true. The basis of everything that's physical has a deeper base, because everything can be deduced back down to energy. And if energy can't be created or destroyed, that means that everything in and of itself is infinite, literally. Like literally. Not spiritually, not this, far out thing that you can't grasp. It is infinite. If all matter is made up of energy and energy cannot be created or destroyed, it is infinite. Make sense so far? Okay. I'm going to keep asking you guys that because we're going to keep going deeper. Right now we're in like pre-K. We're going to end up in like physics, deep, in a second. But before that, the basics of health. There are 3 different avenues that I'm going to share right now that will make it very easy to understand a healthy body versus a sick body, not just the physical body. Your entire being, a healthy being versus a sick being, a balanced being versus an imbalanced being. And those 3 aspects, starting with the first one, is cellular charge. Sorry, it's moving a little bit. Cellular charge. The second one is called pH. And the third one is your oxygen level. Now, these 3 things are the same exact thing expressed in different ways. What do I mean by that? The reason why I'm showing you this is because I'm about to shift the way that, if not most of you, if not some of you, most of you, and definitely most of the world, sees disease. There's going to be a paradigm shift that's going to happen over the next 3 minutes on what we actually have to do and where we've been going wrong all along. To explain that, you have to understand this. Without using numbers and all that, because I don't want to get technical here, we could, but that's not the point of this. We want to keep this grounded and simple. What is cellular charge? Well, to start, it's measured in what they call millivolts. Every single one of your cells has a charge within it. Some of those charges are lower than others. Some of those charges are weaker than others. Some are stronger than others. Very simple. Vitality, health, balance is when you have a strong electrical charge in your cells. Everything is a reflection of that. All right, so the key over here is how do I charge my cells? How do I increase the millivoltage, the electricity in my cells? Because if I can do that, I will experience balance over imbalance. I will experience health over disease. Now on a technicality, and this part doesn't matter, I'm only sharing this part just in case there are technical people in the audience today. The exact number is -70 to -90 millivolts. I don't know why it's negative, don't ask me that, but -70 to -90 millivolts is where you need a charge to be in order for cells to truly start regenerating. Technically, it's -50 and above, so -50, -60, -70, but -70 to 90 it's a sweet spot of regeneration. It brings your cells back to the electrical charge that they actually have to be at. So in short, what I'm saying here is, yes? Say it again? Oh, yeah, so you want me to write it black?
Yes,
Sorry about
yes,
that.
please.
My bad. You guys should have just said something, everybody think me look stupid. Okay. Okay, so, this says cellular charge. Let's start with that, okay? So cellular charge, millivolts. Let me do that real quick, okay? This is high, this is low. In short, let's just summarize real quick. High electrical charge leads to health. Low electrical charge is an environment that creates disease. Before I explain what that actually means, let's go to the next one, pH. What's a neutral pH? Just say it out loud. 7, 7.2, 7.4, let's call it 7. Lower is called what? Acidic. That's not an E, acidic. And higher is called what? Alkaline. And which one do you want? Okay, so let's talk about that. Did you know that cellular charge and pH, same thing, one reflects another. pH is measured according to voltage, and then translated to a different unit, which is hydrogen potential. That's what pH stands for. But those things don't matter. What you need to know is that on this side of the equation is disease. And on this side of the equation is health. You take any cancer patient, measure their pH, they will be acidic every single time. There's a reason for that. We'll explain that in a second. That's going to go to the paradigm shift that we're speaking about. Oxygen levels, let's just call 0 or O for neutral, whatever that is. There's a doctor, he won the Nobel Prize, I think it was in the beginning of the 1900s at some point. His name is Dr. Otto Warburg. He won the Nobel Prize for proving that when you deprive a single cell of 35% of its oxygen for 48 hours, that cell turns cancerous. I'm going to repeat that. When you deprive a single cell of 35% of its oxygen for 48 hours, it becomes cancerous. What does that actually mean? What that means is that in oxygen-deficient environments, cancer, disease thrive. And in oxygen-rich environments, this is high, this is low. In oxygen-rich environments, we've been paying attention to the wrong thing all along. What we haven't been paying attention to, that everything that I just showed you points towards, is our environment. So you can go and try to kill the cancer all you want. The fact is the cancer exists because the environment allows it to. Because you have a low cellular millivoltage, because you have an acidic pH, because you are oxygen deficient. And instead of saying, how do I kill the cancer, if you just say, how do I increase my cellular millivoltage, how do I increase my pH, how do I increase my oxygen levels in my blood, well, naturally, the cancer won't be able to survive. You kill the cancer by depriving it of the home that it needs to thrive, not by radiating it. Now, radiating it works to an extent, with a lot of consequences. Can't have kids. Some people can't have sex after something like that.
Makes you more acidic.
You become more acidic. You definitely lower your oxygen levels. You basically create an environment for great. You're not going to have cancer. You'll have a bunch of other things. Because we've been paying attention to the wrong thing all along. So, in short, it's your environment. E, which I'll get to in a second. It's your environment that you need to pay attention to. Shift your environment, you will change what can survive, thrive, and live in there in the first place. Stop looking at the disease. That's not your problem. What allowed the disease to exist is the problem. Does all of that make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go to environment. There are two fundamental truths that I'm going to bring up right now. Number one has to do with the environment. Number two has to do with what they call the law of conservation, or the law of conservation of energy, which I'll explain in just a moment. Let's start with the first one, environment. It's very cool. If we spend enough time together with your, let's say, person you sleep with in the same bed, your breathing patterns, especially when you're asleep, they're synchronized. Your heartbeats become synchronized. We were to hug for long enough, our heartbeats will become synchronized. What happens when women spend enough time together? Is your period contagious? That'd be stupid, right? Okay. So there's something else going on here. You're not giving your period from one woman to the other. And it also doesn't happen 100% of the time. There's 100 women in an office, maybe 75, 80 of them will menstruate simultaneously, and the other 20 are outliers because there are other factors involved here as well. But there is a major theme going on here, and that is you synchronize with the environment that you're in. That's what's going on. The reason why women menstruate together is because there's something going on in the environment that causes for those women to synchronize with that environment and have the same expression of symptoms, not in a diseased way, that's not what a period is, but symptoms, the same expression. You have a synchronized expression across the board. Now let's go beyond just women. Let's go to the world. The synchronized expression around the world right now is war. That's why you see it everywhere. It's all about synchronization, what you're tuning into and what you're synchronizing with. Who knows what the 100th monkey effect is? Okay. Can you explain it real quick? And then I'll repeat after you.
It's almost like when it hits the 100th person of the same belief level, it almost becomes like a cosmic consciousness sort of thing.
What's your name?
Lisa.
Lisa.
I'm from Chandelier, Cairns, by the way.
No clue what that
24
is.
units.
I have no idea. What did you just say?
24 units Chandelier, Cairns. We had a Zoom together.
Oh, there we go. Okay. You see how many people I speak to during the day? I don't know what's going on. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. So beautiful that I chose you. So she explained it perfectly. What's going on here is very simple. 100th monkey effect. You have two islands. 1, 2. The monkeys don't know each other on island 1 and 2. They've never seen each other, and they will never see each other. One monkey starts doing something. The other monkeys follow. Within a week, all the monkeys are doing the same exact thing on island 1, but that makes sense because they see each other. What doesn't make sense, or it does, and I'll explain it, is that island 2 starts doing the same exact thing that island 1 is doing without ever having met each other. What that means, as Lisa was saying, is there's some sort of cosmic or unified consciousness going on here that we're tuning into. Consciousness is just an energy. And just like women will synchronize with it, just like humanity will synchronize with it, we're always synchronized to that thing. What we choose to bring into that cosmic or unified consciousness is what we will express. That's why when one person has an idea, sometimes on the other side of the world, another person can have the same idea and they've never spoken. It also has to do with belief systems. There was one day, a couple decades ago, I think, that somebody broke, I believe it was the 5-minute mile. It was impossible before then. The next year, 20,000 people did the same thing. Because once one opens that gate of possibility, it's a part of the field, people are synchronizing with it, and it becomes possible for everybody else to do the same. In that same way, you guys, all of us, are a part of that. What we're doing right now, what we're about to dive into, will allow you guys to access more of that unified field. And just by knowing what you know and the awareness that you gain today, you will help other people around the planet, whether they know it or not, whether you speak to them or not, whether you communicate it with them or not, anything. Just by doing it, you're opening that gate. So the environment that you're in is the environment that you're synchronized with. That means that if you put yourself in a distorted environment, like standing next to a 5G tower, what happens? You get distortions in the body. And if you put yourself in a coherent environment, which is what the energy enhancement system technology does, if you put yourself in a coherent environment, you will synchronize with coherency. And it really is just as simple as that. Now the question is, what is a coherent environment? That has to do with this. The law of conservation, who can state it? Lisa?
What was that?
The law of conservation, what is it? You gotta know this. Don't fail me.
Energy is always changing, destroyed.
Say it with me. You ready? Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Or destroyed. Energy cannot be created. Good job, Lisa. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Okay. Where is my eraser? Apparently not going to be destroyed. Okay, there we go. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. What does that actually mean? Let's talk about that, because that's crazy. If you take this marker is made up of matter. Matter, and you can deduce it to atoms. Atoms are moving. There's an energy there. Energy. If I take this marker covered in gasoline and light it on fire, what happens? It's going to die. You know, it's going to move on. Something's going to happen. We're never going to see the marker again. But it didn't destroy. The form just changed form. The form is what destroyed. The energy that made that form just, as many people already said, transformed. So it turned into heat, turned into some things that if you breathe in would probably kill you, turned into all these things that eventually go into the atmosphere, recycle, and become a part of what they were already a part of, only in a different form. By the way, that's the proof for reincarnation. There's no like debate on this. The only debate is how does it actually work? There's no debate on if you were here before, because you are not your body. You are an energy. You're an awareness. Let's go back to Lisa. When I say Lisa's arm, or Lisa's head, or Lisa's body, pay attention, I'm saying Lisa's something. So who the hell is Lisa? If she's not her arm, if she's not her head, this is weird, if I cut you into 10 pieces and put each piece in a different country, where is Lisa? And the answer is, you are not your body. You're the awareness behind you that animates your body. That awareness is an energy that can't be created or destroyed by fact, not by opinion, but by fact, because that is the main law of science. That's like the fundamental, foundational law of science as we know it. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It's not a theory, it's not an opinion, it's not an ideology, it's an absolute fact that I can prove to you. Now, if you were to take the law of conservation, this idea of energy cannot be created or destroyed, what would that look like in the form of an electromagnetic field? And the answer is, and completely infinite and limitless, that's what it would look like. Now, funny enough, that proven is the basic electromagnetic field of energy of all life and creation as we know it. There's a movie, if you guys haven't seen it, it's called Thrive, with top physicists in the world that prove that to be true. And it's called the toroidal field. It's this field of energy that when your body is working in a perfect flow, that's the field that it has. Have you ever seen on those images, you see a human standing and you see the energy coming out this way and this way? That's what they're talking about. It's the base field of your heart. It's the base field of your body. It's the base field in nature. It's the base field of planet Earth. By the way, little fun fact, heart and Earth have the same letters in them, spelled differently. It's the same field across the board, which means that this shape, this electromagnetic field, it's very powerful. It holds a lot of secrets to us, for us. Now, we think that disease is normal. It's not. We think that the flu is normal. It's not. You know how I know? Because it doesn't happen in nature. So we've been told that we're the most advanced species in the world. Well, we're the only ones that get flu shots, and we're the only ones that have the flu. To me, it sounds like we're pretty stupid. That's not advanced. There's something going on there. There's something wrong there. We're the sickest species on the planet because we're far removed from these things, because we wear things like shoes. Because, and again, I'm not saying don't wear them. I like these. They're cork. They're fun. You still got to be a human, but there are ways in the world to adapt to still be as natural and as close to source as you can. Because when you go further away from that, that's when you start having problems. So, back to these two laws. If we know that this is the base electromagnetic field of life, and life in its birthright is healthy, is balanced, because that's what the toroidal field is. That's what God is in a way. It's perfection, it's divinity, it's call it what you want, religious or not. I'm not talking about that. Whatever the hell you want to call it, there's an order in the world. Even if you happen to be an atheist, there's an order in the world. You see it. Earlier today I went to the aquarium in Melbourne, and I saw a shark egg. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's a perfectly symmetrical shape. Looks like a pine cone in a way. There's an order to this world. Whether anybody likes it or not, that's how it works. And that order, that divine intelligence that we see, that we don't have to guess, that we don't have to base any opinions off of, that's what we have to come back into. We need to recreate the toroidal field. We need to bring it back into our lives, because if we do, and we bring it back into our environment, what will that do? We will synchronize with the toroidal field, which brings us back to our birthright, as opposed to synchronizing with distorted fields. Does that make sense so far? So the key over here, to summarize, before we keep going, is the environment is something you synchronize with for the most part. If you're in a distorted one, you have problems. If you're in a coherent one, you don't. You're back at your birthright. If you create in the environment a toroidal field, a balanced field of energy, that's what you're going to synchronize with. And health will become something that becomes normal again. That's the brief summary of everything that was just said thus far. Now the question is, how does the EE system work with all of this? And to understand that, you have to understand the following. First of all, technology is not a bad thing. The way it's being used is a bad thing. Technology is not a bad thing. The networks, the frequencies that we're using are the bad thing. We could still have iPhones and FaceTime and all that. If it wasn't tuned to hertz that deprives you of oxygen, which is what fifth generational technology does, that's your 60 gigahertz or whatever it is, that's oxygen deprivation. Imagine tuning it to frequencies that were coherent with the human body, that work side by side with the human body. We could still have an advanced society technologically. The problem is when our technology advances beyond our level of awareness and spirituality, we end up destroying ourselves. And that's the track that we're on right now. What do I mean by level of spirituality? I don't mean sitting, like a Buddha and a monk for 24/7 on the top of a mountain somewhere in Tibet. That's okay too, but you must be aware of the laws of creation. You must be aware of the codes, of the numbers, of the frequencies that bring life in a balanced way. And if you have that awareness, you'll build technology in a way that complements the human species and life as a whole. The problem is, we lack that across the world, across most of humanity now. So we create things like iPhones in a way that give you cancer. We create things like the technology that we have that hurts you. And not all of it is intentional, believe it or not. I believe that there is most definitely an agenda that's intentional. But the real root of this problem is a lack of awareness. Because people wouldn't follow in the footsteps of that agenda if they knew the truth of what was really going on. They just wouldn't. That's part of my job. That's part of my intention. It's to bring that awareness back to the people. And it's nothing new. It's actually very, very old. We just need to remember it once again. Now, when it comes to the EE system, I'm going to say a big word, It's not that big. And then we're going to explain it so you guys understand what's actually going on here. Because you guys have heard a lot of big words like scalar and quantum, and nobody knows what that means. They don't. I've traveled the world, and I ask, what does quantum mean? They're like, I don't know. And then their answer is just not what it means, because nobody knows what it means. That's why it's called quantum. It's everywhere all the time. There's no logic to it. It doesn't move linearly. And then scalar is a whole other one. Nobody actually knows what that means. So I'm going to draw it out for you so you guys understand. If you guys want to understand this technology and how it works in a super simple way, you have to understand how reality works. And this is just a really cool lesson. This is more of the physics side of it. But I'm going to ground it down for you guys and give you real life examples because you can try what I'm about to show you tonight when you look at the sky. This represents 0. This is a spectrum of frequencies to infinity. 0 to infinity really just means it's a loop. But we're going to draw it as a line so we understand what's going on. 0 to the speed of light. Who knows what the speed of light is? Give me the number. Anybody? Don't be shy. Somebody in here knows. Nobody know?
196,000 miles
per second. Or in kilometers, 300,000. But we'll go in miles. 186,000 miles per second is what we call the speed of light. That's very fast. That's about 7 times around planet Earth every single second. It's very, very fast. What that really means, to put into perspective, is, and I'll ask you, I believe in you. If I have a light bulb, and I turn the light bulb on, and you're standing 186,000 miles away from me, and the speed of light travels at 186,000 miles per second. When I turn that light bulb on, how long will it take you for you to see the light?
1 second.
You'll see it 1 second later.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 light year, that makes sense to everybody, yes? 1 light year is the distance that light travels. If you take the amount of seconds in a year and multiply it by 186,000 miles, you're going to get about 159 trillion and change. That's how many miles away 1 light year is. That means time is really defined by distance. Let's explore that for a second. The closest star to planet Earth, with the exception of the sun, is 4 light years away. 4 light years away means, I'm going to ask you again, what's your name?
Chris.
Chris. If you go outside tonight and you're looking at, it's called Proxima Centauri, forget about the name. You're looking at this star 4 light years away and you see it explode. How long ago did that explosion happen?
Yeah, a long, long time ago.
4 years ago. When you're looking at the night sky tonight, you're looking into the past. You're looking into the past because the distance of those stars away from you, it takes time for that light to reach you. Let's ground it even further. If I were to go, or if I were to teleport you 23 light years away from Earth, and I gave you a massive telescope, and I said, look at New York City. How far in the past would you be seeing New York City?
23 years.
You would see 9/11 happen all over again. Because the event, that event was made possible by light. That light is still traveling at that speed. And the distance that it's away is 23 light years away. So if you took 159 trillion miles, multiplied it by 23 and teleported that distance away instantaneously, and took a telescope and looked back at New York City, you would see 9/11 happening all over again. So when people tell you everything is here and now, that's what it actually means. It may not, everything is happening spontaneously. It's all happening simultaneously. I'm sorry, not spontaneously. It's all happening simultaneously. The question is, how far is that light away from you? So we have this illusion of past, present, and future. The reality of the fundamental universe is it's all happening simultaneously, and it's all infinite. So, on that topic, scientists who don't like me will say, Jason, there's nothing that's faster than the speed of light. And the reason why they hold on to that narrative is because if there was something faster than the speed of light, it pisses them off. It pisses them off because they can't write a formula to quantify that. You can't quantify infinity. You just can't. You can't quantify God. You know, the reason why everybody in the World Economic Forum is like sick in the head is because they think that they can quantify infinity. So they think that they're God. They're not. To travel faster than the speed of light is possible. And you don't have to trust me on that one. I'm going to give you the proof. There's something called quantum entanglement. Forget about that word. I'm going to paint a picture. We'll go back to Chris. Chris has white blood cells in his body. If I were to bring an antigen, something that was dangerous to your body, something foreign, and I brought it towards your body or your environment, your white blood cells would activate because your white blood cells are part of your first line of defense to get rid of any foreign invader. That's how they work. Now, if I were to take some white blood cells out of you, which is easy to do, and I put it in a petri dish, and I had that petri dish right here, and I left it there, and I brought a foreign invader to you that caused your white blood cells to activate, believe it or not, they would do the same in the petri dish, even though they're not in your body. Fact. Now that's great, but here's where it gets weird. You would assume that if that petri dish was 186,000 miles away from you, what I do to you would take a second, 1 second, to show in the petri dish. And that's not what happens. It happens instantaneously. Not with a millisecond, not with a fraction of a millisecond, not with a nanosecond, instantaneously. In other words, if I were to take that petri dish and put it 100 trillion light years away, and I did what I did to your body, it would react instantaneously. That means that there is something faster than the speed of light. So fast that maybe it's not traveling. Maybe it's just everywhere all the time. That's what the word quantum means. Quantum entanglement means everywhere all the time. And we have no way of quantifying it. We have no idea how it works, but we know that it works because we see it in action. What it's really telling us is that there is some form of cosmic or unified consciousness around it is the universe. That time and space don't phase because it is that too. Now that you understand that, let's break up this chart. From 0 to the speed of light is where you experience reality, and that's our physical experience. Because your perception, at least for a normal human with special abilities and all that, we stop at that speed. At least our perception does. 0 to 186,000 miles per second. I'm going to give you a few words. Some people call this 3D. Some people call this the matrix. Some people call this physical. Scientists would call this Hertzian, like within the Hertz spectrum. You guys know that unit. Some people would call this vector frequencies. And so on and so forth. This side of the equation, and I'm going to give the exact opposite to it. Some people call it 5D. Some people call it non-physical. Some people call it non-Hertzian. And some people call it scalar. Scalar is referring to something that moves faster than the speed of light. It's instantaneous. It's a quantum form of energy. It's a quantum technology. We're going to go on a little sidetrack for just 60 seconds because it's fascinating. Have you guys ever heard about the whole connection between extraterrestrial life shutting down nuclear missile bases? There's a big connection there. If you watch the movie called The Phenomenon, it shows you nuclear missile base operators, high level people. For the past 70 years coming and saying, we saw this weird craft, we don't know what the hell's going on. And within a few seconds, all of our missiles went off. We thought they were all going to fire. They shut them off and they killed them. Over and over and over again. Specifically after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The question is, why? Why would, if this is true, let's assume it's true, Why would beings from so far away, because if they're getting here, they must not be close, because we would know about them in a very simple way. Why would beings from so far away care about what we're doing here with nuclear bombs? The reason why is because nuclear energy, nuclear weapons is a form of scalar weaponry. And when that blast goes off, we experience it on this side of the equation, but that blast has an impact when it comes to quantum entanglement as well, when it comes to the non-Hertzian scalar world. That means that a nuclear bomb over here can impact something 100 trillion light years away. That's why they care. Because it's not just a local thing. It's a quantum thing. That was the sidetrack. Let's get back to this.
Is that on UNIFYD TV?
Well, it's about to be. We're working on it. It's the highest grossing UFO movie ever. So it's very expensive to buy. And we're figuring it out. But it's one of my favorite movies when it comes to it. Right now, you're not going to be able to watch it anywhere because the distributor messed up with the producer. That's where we're coming in. We're coming in to do a different deal with the producer. But long story short, it's not anywhere right now. Maybe you can find it like The Phenomenon. Maybe you can find it somewhere else illegally. Do it. It's good. Okay. Now, let's go back to this. Health does not just exist on this side of the spectrum. You're not just a physical being. You're obviously something bigger than that. You're obviously something more than that. If you're made up of matter, matter is made up of energy, and you look like David Icke. And energy, you really look like David Icke. Oh my God. Wow. You're not related to him, are you? I need a picture of you later. I'm gonna mess with everybody. I'm gonna say you came to my show. Okay. Wow. Okay. Better looking version. Better looking version. Okay, so again, if we are matter, matter is made up of energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed, that means that we are literally infinite one way or another. Energetically speaking, we are infinite. That means that if we just balanced this side of the equation, it's not enough. You need to balance this side and this side simultaneously. So right now, holistic medicine deals with this side, maybe a little bit of that side. The pharmaceutical world deals with like from here to here, and then they kill you, okay? The world that we need to move into is 0 to infinity, because that's what we are. The question is, how do we do that? The EE system works on both sides of this equation. Physical and non-physical. How many of you have seen it with your own eyes? Raise your hand. How many of you have not seen it with your own eyes? Raise your hand. Okay, good. So I'm going to draw it so you guys understand, so even the people who have seen it understand what I'm talking about. I'm going to do my best to make it big. Or big enough so I can do everything else I got to do here. You know what? We're going to do this differently. This thing flips. Okay. Because I'm going to need that. We'll come back to it. All right. Having trouble. 1 second. Okay, I hope that works. All right, so.
Is the duster one in there?
Say it again.
The duster's on the other side when you need it.
Oh, man, thank you. No, it works, okay. Okay, so I'm going to draw this. So this is the box behind the screen. We're going to call it, for simplicity purposes, a black box. And this is the screen, the monitor from the side. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
If you're looking at it, there's a box, there's a screen. If you're looking at it, you can just see the monitor, and there's a box behind it. In short, drawing that out again, 0 to infinity, right there, speed of light, scalar, let's just call this 3D, whatever. The black box deals with balancing this side of the equation, and the screen deals with balancing that side of the equation. Now I'm going to explain that after I take a sip of water. When I first saw this technology, I thought somebody was messing with me. I didn't like it because I thought that it was a bunch of nonsense. And it didn't make sense to me. That's why I didn't want to do it, that's the truth. When I first started this thing, before I actually started it, I didn't want to do it. I didn't know what it was, it didn't make sense to me. It looked like a bunch of nonsense, because how is it that computer components can be used in any way to do what it is that I'm talking about? Then I realized that it was just my lack of awareness. And the only reason that I went deeper into it is because I saw my aunt with a 13.5 centimeter cystic fibroid. I used to think it was 12.5, it was 13.5 centimeter cystic fibroid in her uterus that dissolved in basically 4 hours. And I saw, that wasn't enough for me, by the way, because I said maybe it's placebo, the power of thought, whatever. And then congratulations again, you're doing good today. All good, all good. And then I saw my sister's dog, a little toy poodle, with a 4 centimeter tumor in his neck, and that dissolved in 72 hours. And at that point, I couldn't say placebo anymore, because it's happening to animals. It's a whole different ballgame. So I started looking deeper into what is this thing all about, what's really going on here. And that's when I understood what I'm about to explain to you. Now, I've been explaining a lot. I told you I'm going to be giving you guys a lot today. And you may not remember all of it. But this is the important part of understanding now that you understand the basis and the prerequisites of what we're going to speak of now. Again, the black box balances this side of the equation. How? That side of the equation is an energetic world. It's a spiritual world. It's a non-physical world. It's a scalar world. Remember what we said about the environment. The environment that you're in is the environment you synchronize with. If we can create a toroidal field of energy, you will, for the most part, not 100% of the time, but for the most part, synchronize with that field. The bigger word for the black box is called an engine field generator. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's an engine that generates electromagnetic fields. An engine field generator. The science is very simple, and I'm going to ground it and make it super easy to understand. When you take two identical, imagine close, two identical electromagnetic fields, and you align them precisely, their merging point will create a toroidal field. That's it. When you take two identical electromagnetic fields and you align them precisely, for anybody who can't see, their merging point will create a toroidal field. But there's a problem there. The problem is that that's based on only 2 points. 2 points can become wobbly. So what did we do? We created 4 or more. When you go into one of these rooms, you'll see, depends on the setup, but for the most part, one tower in every corner of the room. It's not just placed there randomly. It's placed there and calibrated with very precise and specific laser within 1/100th of an inch, which is very small, within 1/100th of an inch to create this field in the center of the room. So when you look at those towers with all the screens behind them, you really have all of these. And all of those are identical to each other. And they're aligned precisely. And in the center of the room, if you're looking at the room from the top, you would have a tower here, you would have a tower here, you would have a tower here, and you'd have a tower here. And in the center of the room, you will have a perfect toroidal field. In this case, for what's been measured at least, and it's very hard to measure something like that because, again, this side of the equation is very hard to quantify. But using certain technologies, you can get close, or at least a little bit up. And what has been quantified is that this field in the center of the room goes in every direction, 2.2 miles. Down, up, left, right, forward, back, and everywhere in between. What shape does that make? It makes a sphere. By the way, sorry if I offend anybody here, but the reason why I will never, ever buy into flat earth is because it doesn't make sense in the spirit world. Now, if you believe it, I love you anyways. We can agree to disagree. But scalar speaking, quantum speaking, spiritually speaking, in the world of energy, there are no shapes. And the only shapeless shape is the sphere. There's a perfection to it. That's why everything in our cosmos reflects that. That's why everything in the macro and the micro comes down to a sphere. Because it's coming from the world, which is the root of everything. This side of the equation. So you're creating a sphere in all directions of a toroidal field. And you're sitting in that. And you're synchronizing with that. Because that's now a part of your environment. And as you do that, you check off this side of the equation. Now some of you may be thinking, so I'll get those questions out of the way, what about walls? What about doors? What about windows? Doors, windows, walls, anything physical falls into here. Anything that's faster than the speed of light transcends those. It's beyond those. Those things don't phase that. So scalar energy goes through the entire planet Earth with no obstruction because it's faster than the matter that makes up planet Earth. Some of you may be thinking, well, if it goes 2.2 miles in every direction, why do I have to go into the room? Why can't I just be 2 miles away? And the reason why is because although you may be getting the scalar benefit of it, you happen to be a physical human being. You happen to be a physical vessel, which means that you also need to pay attention to this side, from 0 to the speed of light. That's where the screen comes in. So if you were to look at the screen, it would look like a monitor with a bunch of different colors and weird things on it that look like gibberish. Nobody really knows what's going on, and I definitely did it when I looked at it. I looked at it, that's why I thought somebody was messing with me. I'm like, what is this? This is nonsense. It's crazy. And then, after a lot of learning, and after a lot of skeptical questions, because that's where I feel my job, even if I agree with somebody, I need to ask the skeptical questions because I'm going to be faced with them when I come and speak in front of people. And if I don't ask those questions on behalf of people, even if I don't believe in those questions, I need to know how to answer them. And I also need to know how to get down to the truth. So after a lot of questions, I understood what this screen was doing. And it does a lot, but I'm going to break it down to 4 main foundational parts. Number 1 is called the Schumann resonance. Who knows the number of the Schumann resonance? 7.83. What did you say? What was the unit? Hertz. Remember Hertzian. 0 to the speed of light. 7.83 hertz.
Fun fact, the heart.
Say it again?
Fun fact, the heart.
Correct.
Is the same.
So I want 100%. The overall frequency of the human body is 7.83 hertz, by the way.
I thought it was only the heart.
No. It's the heart represents the center of your being, energetically speaking, which is the core of who you are. Every piece of your body, which we'll get to shortly, has a different optimal frequency that it works on. The heart, on the level of chakras, which are just energy centers, balances out the top 3 in the body. Therefore, your overall mean, your average overall frequency of the body. But we'll get to that. Before we keep going on this, I want to give you guys another little fun fact. Very cool. 7.83, when you take those numbers up and add them up individually, what do you get? 18. Which is 9. 1 plus 8 is 9. Let's come to 18 for a second. There are parts of this world, specifically through language, that were created, and there were languages that were discovered. Very few languages were discovered that are still alive today. Having nothing to do with religion, some of those languages are Aramaic, Hebrew, which is the Aramaic alphabet, it's the same thing. Not the Hebrew that people speak today. It's a much deeper level, like biblical Hebrew, just a different level of Hebrew than what we're talking. It's like English and then Shakespearean English. Like, I have no clue what that guy is saying. I never will. But it's English. And then Sanskrit. And then there's a few others that I don't remember off the top of my head. Why do I bring that up? Because that language, those languages are based off of mathematics. Mathematics is the base of all creation as we know it. Remember, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, and you will understand the secrets of the universe. So let me give you a quick little fun fact. It's very, very cool. You can look this up, and I don't remember the name of the study. I'll get it for you after this. When you say the letter A out loud, there's a sound that comes out. There's a frequency when you say the letter A, or B, or C. And there's a certain graph that can measure that and show you the shape of the sound. I forgot the name of what that technology is. But when I say A, it just gives me a random shape. When I say Aleph, it looks like what the letter is. That's crazy. When I say Bet, it looks like the letter when you map that sound out into shape. That's not a coincidence. They knew something back then that we've lost today that we're now regaining and remembering. So mathematics is the basis of creation because it's energy, frequency, and vibration. You can base and deduce everything down to that. Now, if you go to the Hebrew language, and I only know this because I know the language, is when you take this word that's made up of two letters. This letter, I'll go here so everybody can see. This letter is called Chet, which is an 8 in Gematria. And this letter is Yud, which is 10. By the way, Gematria does not apply to English. I know a lot of people like having fun with that. It's nonsense. Because English is something that we've created, not discovered. This is based on discoveries. When you take this word, it equals 18. Sorry. And what it means is life. You know the term abracadabra? That comes from Aramaic. It means when you speak, you create. In the Bible, and I'm not a religious man, how did God bring in reality? He spoke it, let there be light. And it definitely wasn't in English. There is a power of manifestation with speaking according to things like that. You guys wanted to speak about TLS? Part of how they will stop certain natural disasters is through certain spells with words. And those words come from a book in Hebrew called Sefer HaYetzirah. In English, they call it the Book of Creation. People believe that it was written by Abraham, but nobody really knows. And Greg Braden speaks about it all the time. That's one of the books that they use in real life to either create something or stop something from happening. Because with the proper energy, frequency, and vibration, you can create or destroy. And that's why that knowledge in the wrong hands is very, very dangerous. With the proper words or repetitions, you can induce out-of-body experiences. And with the proper words, I can also make you want to commit suicide. That's the negative side of what they call transducing. If you were to use that and you were a very bad person. But you can also use something like transducing, which is a technique that people have that I work with, where you can use it to instill ideas into people's minds. You know who they did that on recently? Robert Edward Grint, when he was in Egypt, just now. I was supposed to be there. Couldn't go. But Ray was there in the pyramid with him. He has no idea that it was him. And one day, a few days ago, and we'll get back to this in a second, cool stories. A few days ago, Robert calls me. I think it was January 5th or something like that. He calls me and he's like, Jason, 6 months ago you told me that the pyramids were spaceships. I thought you were crazy, and today I know you're right. And I'm like, what do you mean? How do you know? I don't even know how I'm right. Somebody just told me that, and it makes sense to me because of X, Y, and Z. And we were on the phone for an hour, and he was explaining all the science. And the guy's a genius, an actual genius. Ex-big pharma executive that understood exactly what was going on and left. He's a multi-billionaire. He doesn't need anything in life physically. He's good. He's good. And he left that life to go and start a new one. And he's giving me all these mathematics of astrology and numbers and X and Y and how the pyramids were, again, it's a long story, it doesn't matter now. You guys will hear about this in one of the next Pyramid Code interviews that come out, because I asked Ray about this, and that's where I learned that he was in Egypt with him. So on the interview, when I asked him, when he said, by the way, because Robert wants to meet him, knows nobody else knows. And he said, well, I did something to him, transduce him. He was sent there by the organization to do it to him, in order to unlock a different level of awareness when it comes to how the pyramids worked. And when he touched him, or whatever he did, it might have been a bump, a touch, a word, I have no idea, he wouldn't tell me. But when he did what he did to him, let's put it this way. He said, Robert was able to see lights on the wall and nobody else could see. Ask him. So I called Robert. And I'm like, listen, dude, I'm not going to tell you why I'm asking, just answer my questions and I'll tell you after. By the way, I asked Ray, I asked him all the questions that I needed. When were you in the pyramid? He wouldn't tell me the day, but he said the time of day. He said, I was there during the day. I said, as who? He said, I'm not going to tell you, but I was undercover as an Egyptian. Okay, no problem. So I called him, Robert, and I said, okay, listen, just answer these questions and then I'll explain. Were you in the pyramid at any point during the day? His answer, only once. And I said, who was with you? He said, what do you mean, our whole group? I said, anybody else? He said, yeah, there were some local Egyptians with us. I said, did you see anything on the wall that nobody else could see? And he said, lights. And I freaked out. I'm getting the chills now talking about it. And that's when I connected those dots and understood. Now, that was a side tangent. Why am I talking about that? Because when it comes to understanding the mysticism of certain numbers and letters which correlate to numbers, you can create and you can destroy. You can do a lot of good, you can do a lot of bad. In this case, this technology is using that awareness to do good by transmitting the Schumann resonance, the resonance of life, which is Earth's heartbeat, 7.83 hertz, within the Hertzian spectrum, 0 to the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. That's where it exists. It's using this frequency and transmitting that frequency through light, through the screens itself, to transmit that, emit it, and bring our bodies back into coherence with it and balance with it. But that's not where it is. There's something called the Fibonacci sequence. Who knows what the Fibonacci sequence is? Anybody? I might be spelling it wrong, but anybody? Say it, go for it. No, but what is it? We'll talk about the numbers in a second. Where do you see it?
In everything.
So it wasn't created, right? I'm saying it wasn't created by man. It was something that was discovered in nature. Can we agree on that? For anybody who doesn't know the Fibonacci sequence, it's a sequence of numbers with different ratios, and we see these ratios across the board in nature. Something that man did not go and create. It was something that was natural in nature as we know it. Something created it. Goes back to the divine order and intelligence. But let's not go there for a second. Within creation, there is that divine order. That divine order is called the Fibonacci sequence. Now, if you guys want to go to numbers, I'll write some out real quick, and then we'll explain them. Now, over here, there's a chain of numbers. And it looks random, but it's not. If you take the last two, add them up, you'll get the third. 0, 1 is 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 5, 3, 5, 8, 5, 8, 13, 8, 13, 21, 13, 21, 44, and so on and so forth. What is the relevance? Well, if we know that that is a code of creation, literally, numerically speaking, we know that it's a code within creation We see it everywhere in terms of ratios and sizes. Then bringing ourselves back into contact with something like that on a daily basis is important. Because if it's a code of creation, creation is perfect and balanced and beautiful and eternal. Bringing ourselves back into alignment with that will bring us back into the reflection of what it is, which is beautiful and eternal and healthy and balanced and harmonious and so on and so forth. Well, we don't have a screen here, but if you were to look at the screen, you would see it eventually change directions. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. And if you were to stare at it for long enough, and it restarted its program that's encrypted within it, you would see it do this. It would go down for 1 second, and up for 1 second, down for 2, up for 3, down for 5, up for 8, down for 13, up for 21, down for 44, and the cycle continues. I don't know where that cycle ends on the program with the technology, but it's bringing it through movement on the screens, and that's how it's transmitting this perfect code of creation that we see in nature. Again, using technology with the awareness of nature and its perfection. The third part is called photonic collision, but forget about that word because it's a big one. It's just collision of light. Photons, another word for light. Collision of light. Now, I'm going to do my best to explain this without getting technical. We'll make it very simple. Imagine light as particles. Doesn't necessarily work that way, but just imagine light coming out of a hose or out of a screen. And that light is broken up into particles. Again, I'm just painting a picture here without technicalities. Those particles, if you envision them as like little dots of light, they're called photons. And when there's a screen there, aligned with a screen there, and you have those specific photons coming at each other, in the center of the room where that toroidal field is, you'll have an implosion that creates a charge. Think about it, almost like, not this scientifically, but if you have to paint the picture, taking these photons and blowing them up and creating a charge. And that charge is negative 70 to negative 90 millivolts. Remember what we said about that. It's that range that you need to regenerate your cells. Back to the law of the environment. The environment that you're in is the environment that you synchronize with. Put yourself in an environment that's charged to nothing, you're going to have a low charge in the body. Put yourself in an environment that's charged to 70 to 90, your body will start doing its best to reach that and synchronize with that, just like it's doing with the toroidal field. So the collision of light, otherwise known as photonic collision, is a very important part because it's creating the charge that your body is synchronizing with. Therefore, being basically a cellular charger for the body. And the last point, which is a very important point, I put it here, right? Yeah, on that side.
Hey Jason, does the light have to hit your eyes for it to be working?
Does the light have to hit your eyes from the sun for you to get vitamin D?
No.
That's your answer. So, but it's a good question. I get it all the time. Light is it's everything. So it will go through everything. It's a part of you. It fills up. It's not. I asked that question too because I was thinking in terms of like a linear. 1 + 1 = 2. And it's a whole different world that we're talking about. So as you shift the way that you see that part of the world, those answers, this is part of teaching you how to think. I could have just said no. I don't want to just say no. I want to explain. So you can take this explanation and apply it to other parts of your life. That's the difference between telling you what to think and teaching you how to think. So the quantum world works differently. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's not you have to look in order for it to happen. It's a whole different ballgame, and light operates on both sides of that. Now, the fourth one, and this is going to be the last one, is color. Who knows what color is? Just yell it out. Yeah, but you guys are shy. There's like 300 people. He won't. When somebody gets it, I'll stop. I also want to drink the tea. Did anybody say wavelength?
Wavelength?
No, that's what it is. So, if you go on Google Images and type in color spectrum, you're going to see red all the way to violet, basically. And what you're basically looking at is a spectrum of light. The difference between red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, scientifically speaking, it's a different wavelength. That's it. Who's a scuba diver in the room? Anybody? No? You are? Okay, what color disappears first? Do you know? Red. Because of its wavelength. Before I explain further, take, 1 second. I was going to use my hand and then I paid attention to everybody looking at it. Although I would use my hand, I really don't care. Okay, so, so let's go to wavelength for a second. 360 to 700. It's really backwards, but you know what? Let's do it the right way. Okay. Now, from here to here, longer to shorter, slower to faster. Nanometers. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Orangey red, we were talking about it when we were like 1. Everybody knows it, but they stopped there. And that was the problem. The difference between red and blue is a wavelength. The difference between orange and indigo is a wavelength. Yellow and green is a wavelength. That's the difference. You know the difference between 4G and 5G was not just the speed of the network. It was the distance between the transmitters. So in 4G, it could have been like 1.2 miles away from each other. But with 5th generational technology, it worked a whole lot faster. But when things work faster, they have a shorter wavelength. They can't travel as far. So instead of doing it a mile apart, they needed to do it every 75 to 125 feet apart, almost on every single stoplight. It's because it's working at a higher frequency. Moves faster, moves shorter. So, have you guys ever seen a person or a diagram of a person, you know, like meditating, and you see those 7 chakras? And it's in the exact order: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and it goes from the root all the way to the crown of the head. And most people don't really know what the hell that means. So most medical practitioners, the medical industry, will call that a bunch of BS. Now let me tell you what they're really trying to say and what they understood back then, because it's very simple. And it's beyond everything to me that I don't understand why doctors don't get this. I really don't. I didn't go to med school. And I'm going to explain this to you in 3 minutes, and you guys are going to understand it. And it's just like there's this limitation in the brains of these, not these people, but the curriculum that they were taught was set with a limitation that kept them in such a small box. And it's so much bigger than that. There is no difference between Eastern and Western medicine when it comes to maps of the body other than terminology. There isn't. So in Western medicine, they call it the endocrine system and the cardiovascular system and the pulmonary system and the nervous system and all these different systems. And it's great that, you know, we know where they are physically. You know what we don't know in Western medicine? We don't know their optimal frequency. When they're working in their optimal state, what is its frequency? Because everything can be reduced back down to energy, frequency, and vibration. What is the optimal frequency of the heart? What is the optimal frequency of the lungs? What is the optimal frequency of the liver? What is the optimal frequency of everything in the body, but broken down into different systems? And that's where the Western medical system falls short, and the Eastern side knew a very long time ago.
That is what you're looking at over here. So you have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. All it's saying, without all the fancy words, is the optimal frequency of your heart is an energy that we express through our visible spectrum of light as green. That's how we perceive it. Green is a frequency. It's a wavelength, but it's a frequency. And yellow, which is your digestive system, its optimal frequency is what we perceive as yellow. So nanometers, by the way, can be translated or converted to hertz. So if you take the optimal frequency of the digestive system, which is yellow, and you convert whatever wavelength this would be, let's call it 540, I don't know, nanometers, to whatever hertz that would be on the conversion, that music is yellow music, only expressed as hertz instead of nanometers. Now here's the big, crazy punchline, and it's very simple. Everything that comes from nature, specifically our food, and we'll get to food in a second, it's very colorful. It's very colorful. Food is a medicine. The color of the food is the guide telling you what it's meant for. And if anybody looks up what I'm about to say, you'll see that it's true. Any yellow food, what is it good for? Real foods, not in a factory. Real foods, bananas, pineapples, mangoes, lemons. It's good for your digestive system. And any red food, what is it good for? Real foods, fruits, inflammation, your blood flow, that's your root. And any green foods like asparagus, artichoke, hearts. It's good for your heart. It detoxes your lungs. If you go on a green juice detox, you'll cough up a lot of phlegm because it's cleaning that part of your body out. Because it's bringing that part of your body back into its optimal resonance, back into its optimal state. And to do that, it has to let go of anything holding it back so it starts detoxing. What's being said here is very simple. Color, it's a medicine. And we're seeing it used now in the Western medical side as well. Red light therapy, blue light therapy. 10 years ago, you would have called it quackery. Most people did. A lot of people did. And now it works. And the only thing that changed is not the fact that it's true, but the fact that we can understand it. That's it. It's our awareness expanding so we can understand more. Color is a form of medicine. The fourth portion of what the screen does is color therapy. If you go to this center, to any one of the centers around the world, you'll see a lot of screens with a lot of different colors. It's a spectrum, it's a rainbow of light. And it's because the prime function of your DNA is the storage of light. So if you get coherent light, you will express coherency. And if you receive distorted light, because that's what everything is, you will express distortion. In that way, it's using light to help the body from here to here, light within the spectrum, before we surpass the speed of light. Because then it works a whole lot differently. It's using light within the spectrum of 0 to the speed of light to help the body heal itself. So to summarize, you have the black box creating a toroidal field that your body will synchronize with, because that's how your body does it. For the majority of the time, it synchronizes with the environment that it's in. Synchronizing with balance will produce balance on this side of the equation. And then on this side of the equation, it's using a Schumann resonance, 7.83 hertz, Fibonacci sequence, photonic collision, and color therapy to balance this side of the equation, which is the physical vessel that we call the body. And when you balance both, you have true holistic health. That is why we're seeing people have incredible, incredible testimonials all around the world. It's not a miracle. It's not like, oh my God, how is this working? This is how it works. And it's not that complex. You need to understand a few fundamental laws of how creation works, You need to understand a few fundamental laws of science. From there, 1 + 1 + 5 is 7. It's very, very simple. And we can go into questions now. Okay. First of all, does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Is there a piece of it that doesn't make sense? Because let's start with that. If there is, don't be shy. Just let me know and let's dive deeper into it. Yes?
So to really ground the usage of this system into like real practicality, for people who are like terminally have cancer or MS or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, being in the system,
Yeah.
do you have an indication of how much time in the system, and then what are the other factors that are actually needed, like really specifically for people to align with optimal?
Beautiful question. What's your name?
Tayana.
Tayana. You brought me upstairs. You see I'm bad with faces? I just met her an hour ago. That's horrible. Sorry. Okay. So, I'm going to answer your question, but I want to go to, I'm going to answer it. Give me 1 second.
Could we hear the question again?
Can you stand up and ask your question in simple terms?
The question was for everyone who is has terminal cancer, MS, or kind of more challenging diseases or whatever we want to refer to them as. What are the really specific, tangible things that are needed in order for people to align to optimal health? So how many hours, and what are the other factors that contribute to the people who are actually seeing big shifts versus the people who are maybe not experiencing considerable results?
Yeah. So first of all, let's start with this, because it's definitely going to be a question. There's nothing that this isn't good for. However, this will not have the same result for everybody across the board, and that's because of what we know but forgot. We're all different. Okay, we're all different, we're all unique. I don't know how it works in Australia. As a matter of fact, now I do, because I asked this question in a different event, and they said that it was the same. But in the US, every single ad on television, the majority of them is what? Pharmaceutical. It's trying to sell you something. And there are legalities with pharmaceutical drugs. So when they say it works, it's scientifically proven, that doesn't mean it works 100% of the time. Matter of fact, sometimes it doesn't mean that it even works 50% of the time. It just fits some BS criteria that allowed them to legally say a few words on that box. Everything good? Yeah. Cool. And one more thing I'll add to that, and then I'll get right to your question, is recently, over the past year, somewhat recently, I've been working on putting together a more supplement brand to optimize people's health and bring this technology into it. And we're still in the process because there's way too many things going on at the same time. But I'll tell you something that I learned that really pissed me off. If I wanted to, I could lie to every single one of you based on technicalities on that box. Okay, organic does not mean organic. Non-GMO does not mean non-GMO. All these things, they're lies. And the deeper you go into every single industry, you'll see what organic actually means. You'll see what different labels actually mean, and they're lying to you. And the only reason I figured that out was because when I was sitting with a manufacturer to put things together, they're like, well, you can put this here. And I said, but can we going to do that? I said, no, this is the criteria. But if your criteria is nonsense, then it's not true. It's just not true. That's how our food industry works, that's how everything works. But the illusion that it painted is, specifically with drugs, take this drug and this is what's going to happen. That's a lie. Okay, it's great that they paint that illusion, that's not true. And in that way, I can't stand on this stage and tell you, do this for 20 hours and this is what you'll see. I can't, it would be a lie. What I could do is have people, when we have enough of them, which is what's going on right now, reporting their experiences. And if we take that data the right way, and it all comes down to data at the end of the day on that side, if we take that data the right way, we can express it in a way that will say, women between ages of 35 and 55 with stage 4 breast cancer who went into a 24-unit system for 45 hours with 4 different intervals experienced X. And now it's based on the people. It's based on their reporting. Does that mean that it have a result of X 73% of the time, whatever? That means you can still be the other 27. The only way we can get to the point of answering your question the right way, without compromising the integrity of what we're doing, because what we could do is we could go and fund our own studies, and then somebody at the top, because I'm not actually involved financially with the EESystem. But let's say that somebody there, which they would never do, but this is how other companies work. Let's say that they wanted to sell more systems. They wanted to make it look, they would fund their own study, they would throw out the garbage, you know, what they didn't like. They would keep what they did, they would manipulate it in a legal way, and they would sell it to the public. That's why I think funding your own studies is a problem. You obviously have a conflict of interest. With the way that we're doing it, testimonials, but more important than that, on our website, UNIFYDhealing.com, it's called the Conditions Improvement Form. And it asks you all the questions. What's your name? How old are you? What's your gender? There's only two. What's your gender? It's funny. I was having fun with this, yeah. What's your gender? What are you experiencing? What's your ailment? How chronic is it? What center are you going to? What size unit is it? How much time did you spend in it? What were your results? X, Y, and Z. We have this all already done. It's all done. And for anybody that's going and experiencing this technology, and I ask you all to do that, to see what it can do for you, even if you're not experiencing something crazy. I have it in my office 24/7. I have it in my home 24/7. And thankfully, I'm not experiencing any form of serious ailment. But I can tell you one thing, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today without something like that. I don't know how it's a plane every day. It's not possible without getting extremely sick, both emotionally and physically. And somehow there's something, I have my days, but there's something keeping me balanced. And whether it's only that or many other things, I think it's a combination of a lot. But I use it for those reasons. So to the conditions improvement form, I ask you all, when you go to these centers, fill them out. Like fill them out beyond the testimonial. A doctor does not care about your testimonial of how you feel. They don't care. I care, but they don't. What we need is to express this data in a way that when I bring it to a skeptical doctor, scientist, or university, they have nothing to say other than how is this possible? Because we've already got past the hurdle of claims, not based on me, but based on thousands of people around the world, and that can't be corrupted. Because you guys don't know the people around the world that are going and filling out those surveys. That's what decentralization is. It's taking all these people that don't know each other and having them authentically, without paying them. We don't pay anybody to do something like that. There's no incentive. There's just, your incentive should be wanting to help people. Right? The more you can share about what you're doing and what you experience, the more people can use that to know how we can help them. That's the incentive right there. But it's not financial. It's not, hey, let's pay you to go and do this, because then it gets corrupt. It gets a little messed up. And the idea is to get to a point where we can express that data in the way that I just explained to you. So right now, what we do have is this. And this is what I would say if you were coming to ask me, what would you recommend, Jason? From person-to-person basis, this is not medical advice. This is just me giving you my friendly recommendation. If you're not experiencing something, you know, like cancer or whatever it may be, do a 20-hour base. Do whatever it is that you're dealing with. So let's say you're not dealing with anything crazy, and you just want to do a live blood analysis. Anybody can do that, it's not a big deal. Or you want to check your pH, right, which is a reflection of your cellular mill voltage. It's the same thing. You do a test before, you do 20 hours, you do a test after, and you see if there are any changes. And so that was my next point. What I would recommend is you could do 5 times 4 hours. You could do 4 times 5 hours. What I would recommend, if you can, is do 2 overnights in a row. Because it's the equivalent of this. If you're going into a state of meditation, your goal is to get to a point of 10 minutes. How do you go deeper? If you do 10 minutes in one shot, or 1 minute at a time 10 times. 10 minutes in one shot. It allows the body to drop in deeper. It allows the spirit on a non-tangible level to drop in deeper. So I would say, I wouldn't do 20 hours in one shot. than I would do 10 hours at a time. And I would sleep there because when you're sleeping, the body's already healing itself. Put it in something like that, you're, for lack of a better term, you get a better bang for your buck when you do something like that. You're just getting more out of it than 10 hours while you're awake. Because your eyes are open, you're externalizing your energy, you're probably thinking about things. That takes energy away from going and doing whatever the body needs to do. And it's just better when you're sleeping. That's when your body really repairs itself. So that would be my recommendation there. Now, if you're dealing with something a lot more chronic, I would say do something more like 100 hours at the minimum. 100 in London, I know there's a guy over there, he has packages of 300 hours. What he does, he just lowers the price to make it more affordable for people. Now, that's another thing that I want to bring up when it comes to money. It's a really big topic. It's a big topic that makes people feel uncomfortable, and people don't know what to do, and there's this idea that, you know, if something is helping people, it needs to be free. Well, anything that's free, I'm just going to say it, is extremely dangerous. Because there's no such thing that's free. There's nothing in the world that's free. The question is, what are you paying for? So let's take the things in the world that we know that are free. TV. Why is it free? Somebody's paying. It's not some guy sitting that's a Buddha that wants to give people stuff. Somebody's paying. And you know who's paying? Advertisers. So, yeah, we could turn it on and watch it for free. The cost to us, I'd rather pay $20 a month. Because the cost to us for something like that is the level of brainwashing that happens to you whether you know it or not. It's the narratives that you're going to see on TV. Because, let's use logic for a second. You had a news station, and your main source of funding was from AstraZeneca. Would you ever speak poorly about AstraZeneca even if you know that they killed people? News stations will not do that because there will be no more news station. That's how that works. There is nothing free in the world. Now, we do need to support the things that we want to see more of in the world. It's not going to happen for us. And that's what I say, and I want to explain this to you guys when it comes to UNIFYD healing. How does this work? I work with full transparency, so I'll give you guys exactly how this whole thing works. How does this fund itself? Every single one of you guys. How? Well, you guys go to the center. You pay at the center, whatever that is. The only reason the center can work with us is because the center is giving monthly donations to us. And then we're using that money, because UNIFYD is a nonprofit, UNIFYD Healing is a nonprofit initiative specifically. We're using those funds, and then we're taking it and going and interviewing people like Tony Robbins and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and getting onto Fox News and infiltrating them as well, and ABC, and these things cost a lot of money. We're paying $300,000 a month to do it. Where does that come from? You guys. And when we do that, we're able to change the narrative in the public eye. And then it comes all the way back to you guys and what you wanted to see in the first place. It's not just a better life for you. It's a better life for all of us. It's a better life for the world as a whole. To do that, we have a lot of work to do. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of money, because that right now is part of the main currency of this planet and how it works. Maybe one day that will change. But whatever it changes to will also be a form of money. Money is a tool. It's a tool that represents an energetic exchange, and it's been used for very negative things. But it can be used to help a lot of people. Take today. How do you think I got here? How do you think I got here? This trip alone, in 25 days or whatever, $70,000. And I'm not going fancy. 70,000, how is that possible? Because there are people there that are paying for what they want to see. Now, there are some people that are less fortunate than others. And that's where the more fortunate need to step up and help as well. You can't expect somebody that's, again, I don't know how it works here, but that's on Social Security, that has all these bills to pay to come and be able to afford something that may cost $10,000. You can't. But I promise you that there are many of you in this room that are not in that situation. There are many of you in this room that are able to help those people. And it doesn't just need to be for sessions at EES. Help those people in general. If we had more people helping others, the world would be in a different place. If you had just the 5 top billionaires, which on paper equate to about $1 trillion, the top 10, and that's on paper, that means they're lying about a lot of it. Okay? Just letting you know. They put money in trusts, they don't, it's all a lie. But reported $1 trillion. That's a lot of money that can help a lot of people in the world, and that's just with the help of 10 people. If we just came together and helped a little bit, 10%, that's even what it says in the Bible, a tenth. You give back a tenth. You do what you can. The world will change much faster. As a matter of fact, my goal is to get to the point, to get the world to a point where EESystem and all of this becomes obsolete. The fact that we need something like this is sickening. That's the truth. The fact that we need to do something like this means we have steered a very, very wrong way for a very, very long time. The fact that almost 40% of Americans have or had cancer, that's a crazy number. The fact that 1 in 35 kids have autism, used to be 1 in 10,000. Anybody over the age of 60 here, how many of you know an autistic child growing up? No, growing up. Not now. It's not because they didn't know what it was. It was because we lived a different life. So in short, the message over there, let's keep going into questions here, the message is you have to support what you want to see in the world. And if you don't complain. Yes?
So I have an autistic child.
Yeah, I have an autistic child, so he's 21. And I am a big believer that as a soul you choose to come and experience that life that way. I know you've donated some machines to autistic schools and so on. I don't want you to repeat everything that you just said, but what have you noticed? What is the feedback of these children?
Let me ask you a question before I answer that. Was he born that way or did it happen in the beginning of his life?
Immunised, yeah.
I understand.
Back then.
Well, that's good.
He's mentally.
It's better than the other way. And the reason why I say it's better than the other way is because at least you know it started at some point here. Now, how reversible completely something like that is, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's going to be 100% normal. I don't believe that to be true.
Yeah.
What I have seen across the board is not how is he verbal?
He's mentally 2 or 3. You can get
Mentally 2 or 3. I
one
understand.
question, I'll answer back.
I understand, and it's probably slurred, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. What I've seen is not to that degree. I know an 18, 19-year-old that is more high functioning, it helped him a lot.
Although he can sing and play Bohemian Rhapsody, never taught, self-taught, can sing the whole song but can't have a conversation.
Wow. I've seen it, in short, make children in severe situations a lot more verbal. I haven't seen it turn somebody from that to you.
Yeah.
But I do believe it can help. Have you brought him to a system?
No, I haven't. But
I would do something like that first, okay? Bring him to a system first. And don't do it for, 1 or 2 hours. Go 10, 20 hours, see any changes. I don't know, his mannerisms and behavior. If he's more neurotic, see if he calms down a little bit. I see that a lot also. They become a lot calmer, they become less nervous. I see that a lot. But again, I don't see it going from that to the other side of the spectrum.
No, and I sort of look at him now like he doesn't need to be fixed. Just can it calm him down and I just want him to be happy.
You said something in the beginning about the soul.
Yeah.
And I think that's something really important to touch on.
Yeah.
We don't always know the reason of why something happens.
Yeah.
And it's not worth blaming oneself over certain decisions that may have made something happen. Because one way or another, that still happened one way or another in some sort of divine order. Even if, you go back in time and you say, I wish I didn't do that. Well, you didn't know better.
But I'm awake because of it.
There we go.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a part of the divine order. And I think that, number one, it's not only a part of his life, but it's a part of your life as well in terms of growth. And to be able to explain that and quantify that, I don't think we can ever do. but I don't think he's in a bad place.
No,
I think he's exactly where he needs to be,
yeah.
and he'll evolve into exactly where he needs to go. And you do your best to help him along the way and support and do whatever you can. But to an extent, also accept where you are right now, not as giving up,
No,
but I believe, and it's been seen in many different ways, that acceptance will lead you to that next step.
yeah.
And it looks like you're there, so I would keep going in that direction.
It led me to become a kinesiologist, so,
And look how many people you're helping, which means look how many people he helped.
yeah.
It's because of him that you were able to do what you're doing today.
Thanks.
You got it. Yes, we're going to you.
2 seconds. Jason, just a quick question. When visiting a centre, you talked about the black boxes and the screens in each corner, and I think you made some reference to the centre of the room. Is there an optimal area? Is it in the centre, or are you getting bang for your buck if you plant yourself under one of the towers?
The difference is so minute that it's not going to change to you. The answer is yes, but it's so irrelevant to no, you could be anyone. So long as you're in the room. If you're in another room, then that spectrum of light will not travel. So light within the spectrum, red to violet, will bounce off walls. Scalar energy will go through walls because it's faster. So that's why to get the full effect, you need to actually be in the room. You need to be in the room with it, like within the confines of the wall, to get both sides of the equation. You got it. You choose. I don't want to choose. You do it whatever you want.
Tracy.
You're good.
I was just going to tell everybody that another way to help healing is through fruit, because it changes the axioms of energy. So we talk about energy.
I'll repeat in a second. Keep going.
Sorry, I'm getting a bit nervous.
Okay.
So the axioms of energy through fruit takes you from 6,000, which is a normal axiom of energy for any individual food, to 12,000 axioms of energy, allowing your body to heal you.
Yep.
And also rest, because it takes only 30 minutes to digest a piece of fruit.
Okay.
And a lot of time to digest anything else. So,
I'm happy you brought that up because we said we would speak about food.
Yeah, so Tracy's the regenerative detoxification specialist. You would have heard of Dr. Robert Morse in Florida?
No.
No? He's been around for about 50 odd years. He's healed tens of thousands of people from all different
Using food.
disease, just using fruit.
but it has to be
Herbs.
all.
Is he one of those fruitarians?
Not all the
great.
time, but a good portion.
Fruitarian is somebody who only eats fruit. They don't even have to drink water
Yep.
because their water is constant. Let's talk about that. Do you have something you want to say, or can I jump in?
Okay.
Okay. Then I know where you're going with that, and it's an important topic. So what she said was, it was a statement that brings up a big topic regarding fruit and how the energy within fruit raises your level of energy to such a level that basically allows your body to start healing itself all out quicker. Including spirituality. The way that works is very, very simple. This goes back to the food pyramid that I said, forget about the FDA and the, what is it? TGA. FDA and TGA. So, the real food pyramid has nothing to do with what they told you, but everything to do with, I don't know what my deal is with this eraser. Okay, 1 second. There we go. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Black. There we go. All right, I learned my lesson. So, the real pyramid of food has to do with the sun. Remember, we said we want to get to a point of synchronizing with a toroidal field, a balanced field of energy. Well, the sun is a toroidal field. That's the energy that it holds. So, how do we eat the sun?
Pineapple.
How do we eat the sun? How do we eat foods of higher light, of more light? And the answer is when you understand what's broken up into 4 levels on the real pyramid of food. The first one, plants, fruits, vegetables, herbs, nuts. The second one is herbivores. The third one is carnivores. And the fourth one is processed foods. All of these things are connected to the sun. The difference between them is how close they are in terms of the energy that they hold. So an apple is connected to the sun. A Dorito is connected to the sun. But a Dorito is a manipulated form of what once started in nature, so it's a much more diluted form of the light that the apple holds, the sparks of light, if you would. This category of food gets its energy directly from the sun using something called photosynthesis. So it has this really cool thing that it can do where it takes the light, converts it into energy through the process of photosynthesis. And then herbivores are beings or humans or whatever that eats from level 1. Because herbivores, for the most part, and I say for the most part because there are exceptions of very special humans on this planet, but we're not going to get to them. Herbivores cannot get their energy directly from the sun the same way that level 1 does. So they go to the next best source, which is the highest form of light available to them. Plants, fruits, vegetables, herbs, and nuts. And we have carnivores, who are animals or human beings who eat the herbivores, who eat from level 1, who got their energy from the sun. So carnivores are getting a more diluted form of light that got its energy from the base physical source, that got its energy from the source, which is not a physical source. And then the last one I can't draw an arrow for because it's just processed food. Now, some people look at me and say, Jason, the crazy people on our planet today want the whole world to go vegan. It must be a negative thing. It's not true. What they want to do is create things like Beyond Burgers and Impossible Burgers and all that, which they disguise as level 1, but it's really level 4. Okay, so all of these things that they're creating that are plant-based, the key is based. That means that you're better off 3, 2, or going to the source. You know who else does that? Big Pharma. So they take Advil, that comes from the willow bark tree, and they create a synthetic version of it, and basically tell you that the tree won't help you, come to us so they can sell it. That's being reflected in the food industry right now. When they say, go plant-based, meat is bad for the environment and all that, they're half truths and half falsehoods. But the ultimate truth is that what they're trying to get you to do is not go to level 1, because that would create a very advanced society. What they're trying to do is to keep you here thinking that we're stupid enough to think that we're actually here. We're not. Unfortunately, much of the world lacks that awareness. So they go and eat those things. In short, when you are experiencing dis-ease in the body, whatever it may be, what is dis-ease? It's a lack of light in the body. It's a dis-ease of the energetic flow. The energetic flow is messed up. It's all screwed up. It doesn't work. Or it's just diminished. So if you're experiencing a dis-ease in the body, it would make sense that you bring in what the body needs. What it's lacking is light. These foods are foods that are closest to that light. And when you eat it, it's the closest source you can get to of eating that light, because you literally are what you eat by the process of replacement of matter. That's how it works. So you eat something, the food has a vibration to it, by the way, dictated by its color, And that food that has a vibration to it will then, in most cases, be absorbed by the body. Some of it, almost like a juicer. You take fruit, you take something, you put it in the juicer. It takes the juice, that's what it absorbs, and then it gets rid of the fiber. And that's how we excrete in the human body. It's the same idea. But there's a very big difference between level 1 and level 3 or 4. And the difference is the amount of water to matter that exists in each level. So a cucumber has about 97% water, maybe 98. A cooked steak, and I say cooked for a reason, has about 70 to 75% water. And a Dorito, you can basically kill yourself. Okay, but the idea of what's being shared here is that the level of light in your food is dictated by the amount of water to matter ratio that it holds. Water represents light, matter represents the physical world. So what color is meat? Red. It's a very grounding sort of food. What do you give guard dogs when you want to keep them aggressive? Red meat. You give them bloody meat. That's what you do. Because the energy of that will do that. Now, there's a very, very big nuance to what I'm talking about here. Is vegan the way to go for everybody? Absolutely not. Is carnivore right for some people? Absolutely. But the question is why? That's what we need to know. Think of, have you ever thought about how we started? If there was ever a start? Think of like the start of life. Naturally, you would probably think that, and there was no start of life, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Naturally, you would think that, okay, we probably live closest to the equator, because why the hell would you live in New York or like Iceland when it's freezing? It's just an inconvenience. You would live somewhere where the seasons don't vary as much, and food is accessible, where you don't have to work as hard. And we were given thumbs with height to go and reach those things, fruits. Now, meat, for the most part, we can't go and eat raw. If we ate meat the same way that a lion did, well, then you'd be able to chase it. You would have claws. You would go and eat it with its fur. You would consume it. You would be great. Now you see carnivores starting to do that. But they're not doing it in that way. They're getting it after the butcher did what they did, and then they're eating it raw. But again, why does it work for some? Why does it work for many? It works because we lost ourselves a long time ago. And that changes our DNA, that changes our lineage, that changes our ancestry. So if you come from a place where your ancestors were Irish, meat's probably going to be the way to go for you. Because that's what your DNA and your being knows for many, many generations. But I can promise you one thing. When we started, they were not eating that way. When we started, everybody did eat the way that was just explained, before you had to go and inconvenience yourself. Because that would be a perfect utopian world. You don't have to kill anything. Some people say, well, you're killing the animal. You're killing the plant. Here's the answer. Plants have color and smell to them. Fruits have color and smell to them to attract you. Why do they need to attract you? Because if you don't eat them, they can't reproduce. Think about that. When you eat them, they need you to eat them. So you go consume it, and in a perfect, grounded, natural world, you would go and excrete that matter somewhere else, and the seed would go somewhere else, and it would start flourishing there as well. The fruits, level 1 needs you to survive. It needs you to eat it. Level 3 doesn't. It doesn't. And there are foods that we think are level 1 that are not, like potatoes. Potato is a root. If you ate all the roots, there would be no more potato. Potato has a leaf. You're supposed to eat the leaf, not the root. But root vegetables, things like onions, they have their place as medicine. And when you overuse that medicine, you start becoming sick. If you go to India, they're not that healthy. And it's because every single one of their plates have garlic and onion in it. You can't do that. It's like having antibiotics every day. There's a place for it. There's a time for it. You overuse it, you go out of balance. So, in short, one more thing. You can't switch from one side to the other either, too fast. That's another thing people do. They hear me speak about this, and they've been eating meat for 20 years, and then they're like, okay, I gotta go be a vegan. That's horrible. You should never do that. Ever. And the reason why you should never do that is the same reason why I can't go the other way. Because I was born and raised a vegan. My body doesn't know meat. And I tried eating a steak once. I couldn't go to the bathroom for 3 days. It's the same reason why if you're addicted to cocaine for 20 years, and then suddenly you stop, what's going to happen? You can go through withdrawal, you can die. It doesn't mean that cocaine is good. It means that your vibration of being of your body was at one point, was somewhere because of that addiction. And if you go and try to shift that overnight too quick, you can hurt yourself. Even a shift in the right direction, whatever that means, can be a horrible thing if you shock the body. So we all work at different paces. Vegan is not the best thing for everybody because of the circumstances that I just explained. But I can guarantee you one thing. Because you are a reflection of the world around you, you will desire what you're in resonance with. And if we look at food from the level of water to matter, and you understand that a spiritual individual is one that is less dense. Dense means more physical, less dense means more spiritual. Then naturally, the food that you are that you desire will reflect your state of being. And naturally, as we evolve, as we change, as we expand, as we ascend, what's going to happen? The food that we desire will change. And you know where that happened? Again, not religiously whatsoever, but I look at the Bible, in this case the Old Testament, as not a religious document, a historical document. And here's what it tells you. First of all, if you read the first few words, it will tell you that God gave the greens and the bushes and the whatever for all life and human beings to eat. And at that time, they lived to like 6, 7, 8, 900. And before somebody here tells me, no, they didn't, that was just a different way of counting time, well, then my challenge to you will be this. If you know the story of Abraham and Sarah, and I only know this because I pissed off a lot of rabbis, and I couldn't answer them, and then I had to read the book myself twice to figure this one out. Abraham and Sarah, there's a story. Sarah couldn't have a baby and get pregnant for a long time when she was like 90 or 99 or whatever it was. It says, specifically, the angels came and blessed her, and within 1 year, she had a baby. Now, you know what didn't change back then? The amount of time that it takes for a woman to give birth, which is 9 months. Which means that when they say 1 year, and the common denominator is the physiology of the woman, that meant 1 year. It said within 1 year. That means 9 months is 9 months back then and now. But something interesting happened. After the story, again, purely historical, of Noah's Ark, which every single nation in this world has their own form of that story. So there was obviously something that happened back there. After Noah's Ark, everybody went from living to 900 to about 150. And you know what changed? The way that they ate. That's when they started eating animals. Before then, they didn't. Now, coupled with that change, you started having people doing different things. Crime was rising, adultery was a thing, incest was normal. That's why the Bible came in, so-called. To go and bring back these normal laws that we should have known already, but we lost our way. And I don't think this just spans 3,000 or 4,000 years. I think this is a cycle We've seen this over and over and over again. So, in short, I don't think that there's one right way for us today. But I can guarantee you that we will end up just where we started. And that will be a more spiritually, involved nation or people. And that will reflect in the way that we eat as well, which will be much less. Not with metal, but with your hands and wood. If you're going to use anything, you're going to use real elements of nature and not something that was completely man-made. And the world will change. You guys wanted to speak about TLS for a second. One of the things that they taught me, and I haven't been to these places, and I know it's going to sound crazy, but there are people that I work with, take this or leave it, some of you will think I'm crazy, that have been to other places. There are other planets with life on it. And there's been communication for a very long time. And you don't have to trust me, look at the structures on our planet that was built thousands of years ago. There was obviously something here, they drew it on the walls, they show it. They show that it's happening. As a matter of fact, from here, I'm going to Mexico to do a movie on real alien bodies that they found, DNA tested, and they're not human. They don't even look human. They look weird. They're real. The reason why I bring that up is because these are very advanced nations. But if you go to their home, they walk barefoot. They have spaceships, but they're barefoot. They don't have all these fancy clothes. They're togas. It's very simple. Specific fabrics. Linen holds a higher frequency than other fabrics. You take linen and wool and mix them together, you negate both. Turns into zero. So in short, with food, it's a very important part of the protocol when it comes to the energy enhancement system. You don't have to change, your whole life around it, but if you're experiencing, I'll come to you in a second, if you're experiencing intense ailments with or without the system, I highly encourage you to look at the food that you're eating. Because the doctors that went to medical school, they still allow you to go and drink Starbucks coffees with whipped cream while you have a brain tumor.
But also they're trying to fix a symptom, they're trying to cure.
Of course, they're trying to fix the symptom and the expression of what the actual problem is instead of the root of the issue. And it's the reason why that doctor, what's his name again? Robert Moss. The reason why he's so successful, and I don't even know. But the reason why he's so successful is because food, it's the sustenance of your body, which is the basis of your entire life.
It's also about your lymphatic system. Sorry, Jason.
Yeah.
It's about your lymphatic system. As a human being, we need to understand our lymphatic system. That's the sewage system in the human body.
And how it drains
Sucks
and
waste and how
Yep.
to eliminate that through your kidneys, your digestive system, breathwork, skin.
I can go, it's up to everybody here. Whatever you guys want. I know I was late, so I want to make up for that time. Yes, I'll answer that in a second. Let's go to her right there, and then I'll answer that quickly.
Just a question with it, particularly the eating fruit and veggies. What about even with all the pesticides and everything on it, and then obviously organic, not organic? And just asking because I know people have done very well on carnivore. And partly I'm wondering, is that more pesticides on the fruit and veggies that then, the animals kind of remove before you get to it, or sometimes they're organic, I don't know what to believe anymore. And also the second question, is deuterium. I don't know if you heard much about that.
Yeah, but I don't know much about it. I have heard about it.
Well, that's been proposed as also one of the reasons why carnivore is coming up in the world, because there's less deuterium within animal-based products versus a lot of the fruit and veggies that, I get what you're saying from the start, makes sense. In an ideal world where humans haven't sprayed everything on the plants and haven't ruined everything, that makes the most sense. But in the world we're currently living in, what's the best option if organic is...
Number one, I think when it comes to also, my teachers taught me in terms of food and forbidden food. Okay, and when it comes to homeopathy, how does homeopathy work? You have to use the disease to cure the disease. There are many cases, even I've seen my teachers do it, where they use forbidden foods. They call them forbidden foods. I don't like that word because it's kind of harsh. But they'll use animal products to help somebody heal from a disease. because it was the animal product that caused it in the first place. We're deep in a rabbit hole right now that is not so simple. And the truth is, I don't think that there's one answer to what you just said. I think that there's 100 different factors and perspectives, and I don't know all of them. What I could say is definitely when it comes to not just chemicals on your food, but hormones that are being given to the animals and all that. Three pillars: cellular charge, pH, and your oxygen level. The cellular charge is, by the way, the charge, what she was talking about, of your fruit, because it's more alive. You know, somebody once told me something, one of my teachers. He said, you can't expect to live when you eat dead food. It's true. How can you expect to live if you're eating something dead?
Whatever take it even further.
Yeah.
I take it even further and say you can't have a spiritual experience unless if you eat meat.
No, I think you can. I think you can. I think you can. I like this because it pisses people off. I love pissing people off. It's my job. I love stirring the pot. It's like I sit there like a little kid. What's going to happen next? No, I think that you can. But I think that as you experience things, as you evolve spiritually, the way that you eat will start changing. I know a lot of people forget about meat. I know people that they drink relatively often. They smoke cigarettes and they could do a lot more than most of the people in this room. And it's because they're just born at a much higher level with other things that were done in previous lives. I don't know how that works. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that it's black and white of if you eat meat, you can't have a spiritual experience. I'm not saying that in like an attack way. I'm sorry if I came off that way. But I'm saying that in terms of I understand what you're saying and I know where it's coming from. I also think it's based off of where the individual is from the start, because we're all born at different levels. We're all born with different immediate potentials. And I'm telling you, I know people, ex-drug addicts. Today they could do things that will blow your mind out of Hollywood. And they're able to do it. A lot of those people were able to do it while they were in their sick in the head place. And then they got the proper direction, they got the proper guidance. That's where TLS came in for some of these individuals. It's not always based on your actions in this life. It's your base frequency and your like sequences of energy and how your body moves on a spiritual level, how your being operates on a spiritual level. And sometimes you can mess that up. Like if today I went and started drinking every single day and chain smoking cigarettes, I would impact my level. As a matter of fact, I did. Speaking about a quick story, how much time do we have? Okay, no problem. So I'll give this quick story, and then I'll make it quick. Because you guys wanted to know about Ray and TLS, and then I'll answer the 48 as well, I promise. Yes, so in short, this is going to be hard. Okay, every single one of us are born I'm going to speak fast. Every single one of us are born at a different level, at a different dimensional state of awareness. The first 5 are what science identifies as brainwave frequencies. It's called beta, alpha, theta, delta, gamma. It starts with beta, not alpha, I don't know why. Beta, alpha, theta, delta, gamma. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, gamma being 5th dimensional awareness. The goal is to get to that 5th dimensional awareness and then continue transcending. Beyond the 5th dimension, you're now experiencing a non-physical life. But you can get to the high upper levels of the 5th dimension and still be in human form, still be in physical form, whether human or not. Everybody is born at a different level based on what has been done throughout different lifetimes. It's not always based off of this. So the logical question is, why the hell would they come to somebody like me? I was only 22 when they came to me. I'm 26 today. I didn't do much in my life. I was working my family business. And I was partying and drinking and smoking like every other kid for a very long time. So what changed there? And the answer is this. I asked, when I was being taught about this, I asked Ray, can you read me? Because there's a technique that they have called the fetal position technique, fetal position method, translation from Hebrew. And I said, can you do this method to me to read? and you read whatever you're talking about, where I was born and where I'm at now. Now, each dimension is broken up into 10 different points. Beta 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Gamma 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. So it's 10 dimensions, each infinite, not limitless, not limited. 10 dimensions broken up into 10 different parts. But that's the first 5, beta, alpha, theta, delta, gamma. I asked him to do a reading on me. The story is longer, so I won't get into it, but after he did, the next day, I said, so, talk to me, because it was right before I went to sleep. And I said, talk to me, tell me where I'm at. And he said, well, you were born at delta 8, which is high. But right now, this was about 2.5, 3 years ago, right now you're in a place of about alpha 7. And I said, why? That's not good. Well, why did I drop 2 levels over there? And he said, well, the way that you're living. Now I was, what, 20, no, this must have been longer than, I don't remember what it was, maybe 4 years ago, in the beginning, right after 2018. So when I was like 21, okay? Around that time, I still had a lot of remnants of doing what a 21-year-old does. I went out, drinking, doing all these things. Normal, nothing crazy. But it did a lot of damage. And I had to take that and work with it to overcome that, to bring myself back up. I haven't done a reading since, partly because I don't care. Because I realized something. I realized that if you care about those numbers, you're an alpha. Those numbers don't matter. It doesn't matter where you're at. What matters is how you feel. I feel good. I feel like I can go and conquer the world. I'm good. I feel good. I know that there's room to grow, but I feel good. And that's what matters. So I didn't even bother saying, hey, can you read me again? Because as I started evolving and getting higher, it didn't matter to me anymore. What I desired changed. So my point is everybody's born at a certain level. Based on what you do, you can change that level, but you still have your base. I know people today that are at a beta level, but that have gamma within them because that's what they were born at. Those people, in many cases, TLS will bring in for certain things. And that's when they'll start helping them change their lives and God. Ray eats meat. He's a meat eater. Wasn't always a meat eater, but the guy can do crazy things. He's done them to me. I don't know why he eats that way, but he's a human being, and that's what he wants to do, and it's fun. But I'm giving you that specific experience because I get where you're coming from, but it's true and not true, where it all depends on the base of the individual, where they're at, what they're capable of in the base based on the past, and how close they are to reaching that capacity. I know we gotta go, so yes, 48 unit system. 48 unit system in short is you're saying, is it better? I'm not gonna say better or worse. What I will say is stronger. The truth is, when it comes to 48s, we need to do more testing. Okay? There needs to, for me, I have different standards than other people. For me, I want to know exactly how quantifiable the strength is in terms of its increase from a 24 to a 48. I don't know that answer. I know that it's stronger. I don't know how much stronger. Is it 10% stronger? Is it 300% stronger? We know that from a cube to a 4 unit, it's 10 times stronger. We know that from a 4 to an 8, it's like 30 times stronger than the cube. We know that from an 8 to 12, I forgot the number, but it keeps going, and there are actual quantifiable results there. A 48, there hasn't been enough testing to be able to tell you exactly that. What I can tell you based on logic of what we're seeing is it's stronger, but stronger does not always mean better. It doesn't always mean better. There are some people that they like a 24 more than a 12. There are some people that like a 16 better than a 24. It feels different to them. There's no right or wrong answer. It's based off of what feels good to you and it's almost like food. Like I can tell you what to eat, but how does your body feel when you're eating it? That's what you should listen to. You know, not even this. Forget about that. I'm just giving you a philosophy here. How do you feel? Okay. Can I answer one last question? Do I have 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 minutes. 3 minutes. I'll push it. We said tongues. There is an underground, I'm sorry. I'll stay afterwards until they kick me in the head. Okay, so there is an underground tunnel system. There has been for a very long time. That's used for many purposes, one of which is trafficking children. For sexual purposes, for medical purposes, to do medical experiments on them that are completely not legal on human beings, to do rituals, sacrifice, all these things. Don't ask me why, because I'm not one of those people. Sick people in the head that like doing sick things. If you try to understand them, you're probably not going to succeed unless you're one of them. That's basically it. I don't know why they enjoy this, but there are individuals that like that, just like there are individuals who enjoy killing people. There are. We know those people. People like that have been interviewed. They're on Netflix. It's called I Am a Murderer. By the way, I watched that show and I reached out to him. I had to understand what is going through your head. His name was oh man, I forgot. But he lived in Florida. He was on the death penalty. And I reached out to him and I wrote him. I'm like, listen, I gotta understand. Talk to me. Like, where are you? Can I come visit you? I want to go visit him. Can I come? I just wanted to understand what is going through this man's head. And he just likes killing people. His handwriting was scary. It was so perfect. I thought he was going to kill me just by reading. It was scary. It was scary. But in short, again, there are people that like these things. There are people that like kids. Julius Caesar was a known pedophile. It's no secret. If pedophilia happened back then publicly, it still happens now. It's just not as accepted. So they do it underground.
Why Melbourne? Why?
I don't know. No, it's not just here.
But Melbourne is a hub, though.
It's a hub for what they call adrenochrome. And adrenochrome, people call me a conspiracy theorist. It's been out there. It's a drug that creates euphoric feelings that's extracted from the blood of individuals, specifically in this case children, when they're experiencing trauma, because there's a release of adrenaline. When you extract that and create an extract from that blood, you're able to create what's called adrenochrome. When you take it, it makes you age less, probably because it's part of your blood. That's where urine therapy comes in. And that is also your blood, by the way. We don't have to get into that now. But the idea over here is they're using this to feel good, to look better, and to stay younger. And they get a kick out of it. And Melbourne is one of it.
Portugal, South Africa.
Portugal, South Africa. I think there was more, I don't remember. But those are the main hubs when it comes to that. There are tunnels all around the world. There are trains that travel at very high speeds. Elon Musk's Hyperloop is not new technology. It's been around for 70 years. And now it's just coming out to the public because everything that the military has, they've had 50 years before it comes to the public. So we're running out of time. I love you guys very much. I want to take a selfie real quick, so let's just have a good time. And we're going to have to do two. Thank you. Here. Okay, now this side. Can I do this side? I don't know. What am I doing? There we go. Okay. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate
Anyone who has a question about the system, you can email me, dee@vyve.com.au. I know a lot about the system. I'm a part of the global EE group, so I can ask if I don't know. Just because I know so many of you had some wonderful questions, so you can just email. Thank you.
Thank you very much, mate, for
Thank you, guys.
offering. Oh, absolutely. Everyone give it up for Jason Shurka. Yes. Okay, one more thing, guys.
One thing we've spoken a lot about Jason, and you can tell today he's incredibly knowledgeable. I have actually signed up for the online course that Jason's running, Transformation.
Yes.
And it's in March. It goes over our long weekend. 3 days, just or 2?
Yep. 3 days, and there's access for the recordings forever as well.
Yes, access to the recordings forever. It looks absolutely phenomenal. I just wish that I was in the States to see it live,
I'll come do it.
but it's a long way away.
You'll come do it here? One day.
So this code, just so everybody knows.
Okay, healing
it's $50 off.
$50 off. By the way, I'd already paid for it before you came up with
We'll get you back.
So
I bought
guys,
it and then the next day, it's
so guys, the address is jasonshurka.com/transformation.
And healing 50 gives you $50 off the price.
Awesome.
So on behalf of the community and all the UNIFYD centres and the EES centres throughout the world, thanks mate. Keep doing great work.
Thank you.